The House notes that on the 14th of June 2023, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced the unification of all segments of the foreign exchange market. However, on 17 July 2023, as at the time of drafting this motion, the US dollar was trading at 815 Naira to $1. The House also knows that in July 1980, the exchange rate was $1 to 80 kobo. In July 2022, the rate was $1 to 670 Naira, while in July 2023, the exchange rate is now $1 to 815 Naira. Shortly after the new administration had promised us that during the campaigns that it will stabilize Nigeria's exchange rate at the rate of 200 Naira to $1. The House further knows that in the 1980s, most of the foods and products consumed were grown or produced in Nigeria. Today, the Nigerian economy is mainly dependent on importation, and there lies the source of the terrible exchange rates we are now experiencing. The House observes that the importation of vehicles and other commodities have dropped since the floating of the Naira by the single exchange rate. It also observed that the impact of the unified exchange rate has made Nigerian students abroad to suffer tuition fees increment by over 60%, making the money in their bank accounts insufficient to pay school fees due to devaluation of the Naira. It's concerned that the Naira has been on a rapid decline against the US dollar, euro, and pound sterling, thus leading to a hike in prices of goods and services, thereby worsening the inflationary situation and the cost of doing business in Nigeria. It's conscious that the high prices of goods and services are taking a huge toll on average Nigerians, making life unbearable. It's cognizant that if this is not reversed, $1 could be exchanged for 1,000 Naira by December 2023. The current economic situation may trigger an inflationary spiral that may throw Nigeria into economic recession and depression. The House resolves to urge the federal government to take necessary steps to stabilize the Naira and to mandate the Committee on Banking and Currency, when constituted, to ensure compliance and report to the House in 3 weeks. I so move. The foreign exchange rate depends largely on market forces. What is triggering the increase or the decline of the Naira is due to the fact that Nigeria relies heavily on importation. We do not produce our own homegrown indigenous products and services that we can market to the outside world and earn foreign exchange from it. Rather, we are a country that is dependent largely on consumption. There's inflation all over the world, but that of Nigeria is higher than normal. And this is so partly because of the floating rates, which is actually a good policy. I have nothing against the unified exchange system. But government must put in place deliberate policies to stimulate economic growth in the country. We have to stimulate our own domestic production. We used to have Arewa textiles. Mr. Speaker, most of us sitting here should be wearing made in Nigeria clothes. Jagaban, you should be dressed in your made in Nigeria Agbada. I like your hat, but the Agbada is not from Nigeria. If we wear made in Nigeria, even I must speak to myself too. If we wear made in Nigerian clothes, shoes, bags, carry our own products, Mr. Speaker, that will automatically increase our exchange earnings because it will improve on the product, we can market it, and the domestic consumption is high. Another thing is that of vehicles. Mr. Speaker, we produce Innoson, but how many of us drive Innoson vehicles? All government parastatals, ministries and departments should order made in Nigeria goods and products and services where it's available, because they will invest the money in research and development, just like Tata in India, improve on the product and export it. And the same thing, Mr. Speaker, for most of the consumption, we prefer foreign goods to Nigerian-made goods. This economy will not stabilize until we start patronizing our own
Thank you.
goods.
Can you round up? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I must also give the example of Zynox computers. Zynox computers are made in Nigeria, but all our offices, you will not find them there. Why do we not have a culture of patronizing our own homemade goods? I think we should also have we should pay special attention to that on a separate day.
Thank you.
Because that is what will grow the economy.
Thank you, Honorable La. So that is what your motion is saying. You are saying that the policy of government to unify all the foreign exchange markets is a good policy in the right direction. And it will be good for us to hear what members have. Let's ventilate this debate a little bit, because that is what Nigerians expect us to do, even though we don't have much of time. Let me yield the House to Honorable Shetima.
While acknowledging the efforts of my able sister by bringing up this motion, I must hasten to add that this administration, under barely 100 days, I think all the economy indices is showing that they are making an effort towards the right direction. But the fact, the issue of saying our president during electioneering campaign promised to bring down dollar to 200, I've never heard of that. This should be corrected, because he will do his effort to see that dollar has come down, but not specifically mentioning below 200 Naira. And furthermore, the efforts, but the first day...
Please don't put on your mic until you are recognized, please.
The very first day when the president took over the mantle of leadership in this country, he took the bull by the horn by removing subsidy. This subsidy he did with a good intention, of which he needs our support. By looking at the efforts of this administration barely under 100 days, I believe we need to commend his effort, other than taking up in a way of challenge, I can say, though you have the good intention of drawing the attention of the administration. But to me, we should support him wholeheartedly to give them the benefit of the doubt, to see that he has done something tangible for the country within the shortest possible time.
Thank you.
This is my contribution.
Honorable Jaha.
Honorable colleagues, permit me to join the previous speaker for commending our senior colleague, Honorable Benilar, for presenting such a very nice motion that considers the sufferings of Nigerians, particularly with regards to the issue of exchange rate. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Amejaha Babao is my name. I represent Chibok, Dambua, and Goza Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, on record, including the remaining 88 not yet recovered Chibok jails. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Jaha, go straight to the point.
Yes.
Straight to the point.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we should be fair to this current government. We were all aware when we were doing campaign, all the political parties that are forerunners.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Point of order. What's your point of order?
Kingsley Chinda, I come under order 9 Rule 2 and under 9 Rule 3, Sub-Rule 3.
Go ahead, read it.
Mr. Speaker, order 9 Rule 2 allows me to raise this point of order. And then order 9 Rule 3, Sub-Rule 3 says, the Speaker shall allocate 1/2 of such time, that is time for debate, to be given to debate in favor of, and 1/2 to debate in opposition to such proposition. Mr. Speaker, we have just taken the motion. Our practice is that those in support of this motion should speak. Thereafter, those that are against the motion will be given their time to speak before it is put to vote, sir.
We are not voting at the moment. We have taken two people who are for the motion.
Both of them spoke against.
Who are against the motion.
Exactly. So the procedure.
We will now have the ones who are for the motion coming to you. Let him round up. Honorable Jaha, go ahead.
Inherited Nigeria in the last less than 60 days. It's too early to start judging the performance of this government with regards to the issue of exchange rate. We are all aware of the reasons why there is escalation in the price of dollar to a Naira. We are equally living witness that this government inherited a lot of insecurity that discourages foreign direct investment to the country. No matter what policies you put in place, in as much as there is no security for people to come and invest and encourage export, there is no way exchange rate can come down. And this government inherited in less than 60 days. Only the service chiefs were appointed. Even the cabinet is not set. So we should give this government the benefit of the doubt for some times before assessing the performance of the government. Secondly,
round up.
Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are all aware of various motions that was moved on the floor of this House to improve revenue generation, to improve security situation, and to improve the way and manner to reduce cost of governance in the country. They are all in the hands of the ad hoc committees where necessary, and some of them were waiting for the constitution of the standing committees. So at the end of the period, the outcome of such deliberation may in one way or the other provide policies for the current administration to succeed in not only improving the economy of the nation, but reducing drastically the exchange rate as we wish as Nigerians. We are all aware that the person spearheading the affairs of this government is a goal-getter, is an achiever.
Okay, thank you.
Let me conclude, Mr. Speaker,
Thank you.
with your protection.
Thank you.
He's a goal-getter, he's an achiever. We have seen what he has done in Lagos,
I think that was why,
and he can make Nigeria
that was why Nigeria. Thank you, Jaha. I think that was why the Nigerian people voted for him.
Send the good people of Yagba East, Yagba West, Mopamoro Federal Constituency, and from Kogi State. I just want to ask this as an addendum to the motion that this issue of exchange rates.
Addendum, are you adding as amendment or are you contributing to the debate?
I'm against the motion.
You are?
Against that motion.
Okay, so it's not an addendum. You are making your contribution. Go ahead.
That the issue of exchange rate cannot be done by fiat. It has to be done by the market forces. You cannot say today Naira should be 200 or 100 Naira. It has to be done by the production and the export. Most countries focus on what we call mercantilism. That is encouraging your exports as against imports. These are the areas that the new government is focusing on, which I believe it needs time to achieve. And again, this unification of the exchange rate take away the round tripping of the forest. People buy forest and sell it in order to go for production. So I believe government is in the right direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was straight and direct, and I like that, Honorable Leke. Let's have from this aisle those who are...
Remind us of our responsibilities and duties. That is to make laws for the peace, good governance, prosperity of this country, including economic prosperity. Mr. Speaker, let us look at the prayer of this motion. And that is the thing that will inform us on what position we should take. The prayer is to urge the federal government to take necessary steps to stabilize the Naira. My dear colleagues, let me ask one simple question. Are you telling us not to urge the federal government to take steps to stabilize the Naira? If you stand to oppose this motion, that is the implication of what you're saying. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, our role is to guide the federal government.
Excuse me, Minority Leader, can you read the last paragraph before the prayer?
Cognizance that if this is not reversed.
What is being reversed?
Let me read the entire paragraph, sir.
What is being reversed? What is
cognizance that if this is not reversed, $1 could exchange,
which is the policy?
Naira.
So
of course, government policies.
So we should reverse that foreign exchange policy.
Mr. Speaker, that is not the prayer. Our resolution will be the prayer of the motion.
Yeah, but can you tell us what that paragraph says?
The paragraph says that government should reverse whatever policies that is making the Naira to go up. But what I have said is we should look at the prayers of the motion. So if we are supporting a motion, we are supporting the prayers, not the content. We can criticize the content. I can even say that Honorable Benila perhaps did not give full facts in the body of the motion. But the prayer is sound. The prayer is in tandem with what we have been voted to do. The prayer is a support to the government, not against the government. And therefore, I will urge us, my dear colleagues, that we should meticulously look at these issues and not be partisan about it. I think that what we are discussing this morning is to encourage the government of Ahmed Bola Tinubu to perform well. It will not be my pleasure. My own thought and thinking and prayer is that he should not perform well for us to take over the villa. But in the interest of Nigeria, I will support this prayer for optimal performance of government, because it is why we are here. So I will urge us, please, that we should not, I don't want to take too much argument, but I will pray that we support this motion and urge the government to take necessary steps, better our policies. Even if the policies are good, there is still room to better these policies, and that we should all work together as stakeholders in this government to ensure that we provide a better environment for Nigeria.
Thank you.
Therefore, please let us overwhelmingly support this motion. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Dachon Bagos.
Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleagues, the reality of the moment is what we need to look at on this motion is not about being partisan. Because when you check the presidential election or the swearing in of every president in any country, check the stock market, immediately any president, his statement, will be able to change how the stock market move. So the president looking at what this motion is all about now is the key issue. It's not about partisan or because the president has promised. Everybody can promise anything during campaign, but what is the reality?
Please, Honorable, that just be more better guided. None of them mention their party.
No, but
in the course of speaking, no, so let's remove the word partisan.
What Honorable Jaha have said earlier, and again, if we have to be so sincere to ourselves, even when this policy is in place, how have we been able to look at our laws that will discourage importation? What have we been able to do with the local contents that we have? We have not looked at the law that has promoted local content. When we look at local content and we have reduced importation, even the issue of what we need to import and the rising rate of the dollars will not even bother Nigerians, because we look at local content in every single thing we use in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleagues, it is very paramount for us as members to go back, encourage government to even look at the laws that have been passed by this assembly in terms of local content, then to be able to stabilize most of these issues.
Thank you, Honorable Banjo. I think there is because the title of the motion is different from the body of the motion, and the prayer is actually different from the body of the motion and the title. Because if you look at this prayer, if you look at this motion, you will see that what is being criticized here is the unification of all segments of the foreign exchange market. And they are blaming cost of crude on that. They are blaming other issues on that. All the issues mentioned on the body of this motion is blaming that unification policy of government. And then the prayer says, urge the federal government to take steps to stabilize Naira. That is the difficulty we are having here. I'm going to hear one more from this side, and then a right of reply here and here. We'll round it up, because it's a topical issue in Nigeria at the moment. So,
Mr. Speaker, for yielding the floor to me. My name remains Ademori Aliukuye. I speak for the good people of Shomolu Federal Constituency, and I'm from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion. Reluctantly so, because the mover of the motion is my sister, but my senior too. But having gone through this motion, I find it difficult to sit down here and support the disjointed nature of the motion. In moving the motion, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleague mentioned...
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Mr. Speaker.
Further.
I have the protection of Mr. Speaker. I have the floor.
You are protected. Kuya, please go ahead.
Thank
point
you,
of
Mr.
order,
Speaker.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, sir.
What is your point of order, please?
Mr. Speaker, in a town hall, we have our rules, and we ought to comply strictly with our rules. Mr. Speaker, our rules explain how debate should be taken on the floor of the House. Order 9 Rule 3, Sub-Rule 3 states that clearly you allow debate in support, and thereafter you allow debate against, except we are debating on a bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I hold you. Your interpretation is final, but I know that you will interpret it rightly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Yeah, go ahead, Kuye. You are protected, Kuye.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know Mr. Speaker is up to the task. Mr. Speaker, the mover of the motion, while addressing the House, mentioned the fact that Nigeria has the highest inflation rate in Africa. That information given from this parliament does not represent what is happening in the whole world and in Africa. Nigeria indeed has one of the lowest inflation rates in Africa. That's number one. That's why I am opposing that motion. Number two is the fact that the mover, like Mr. Speaker rightly mentioned, is asking us to go against what we initially supported. And that is the issue of marginalization and the floating of the Naira, which all Nigerians supported. All Nigerians supported that policy. And that policy gave rise to us saving a lot of money. We were able to save a lot of money.
You are distracting me.
Go and sit down. We recall that immediately that pronouncement was made, the stock exchange improved drastically, improved. And I thought that the mover of the motion was going to mention and commend the government for that. I'm sure that with time, all these things will be corrected and Nigeria will be a better place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
What
Speaker.
I pick from your statement is that it is time to put the question on this so that we can
Point of order,
move
Mr.
on.
Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
When you say government to stabilize the Naira, when in the presence of market forces, and when you say Committee on Banking and Currency to ensure compliance, as the prayer goes, it means banking and currency revisits that foreign exchange policy. That is what it means. Banking and currency revisit that. Support of this motion, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. I will ask that question again. Those in support of the prayers of this motion, say aye. Aye. And those against, say nay. The nays have it.